Good morning, good evening, good night. The picture you're seeing here is there as a reference, so while you're listening, it can the words in the picture will give context to each other. And I was kind of sort of inspired to do this because of idiots and douchebags on Hoyo Lab. And I want to start out this little story time back into the mid to late 1980s when I was in middle school. All this ties in together to this picture that you're seeing right now, and that's going to come up at the end. So let's go ahead and get on with the story. During that time, and literally still up until this day, I'm a huge fan of art. I love it. Always have been and always will be. And this story begins with me about the time of me being in the 6th or 7th grade and being in art class. I had a black teacher, a black female teacher. I can't remember her name for the life of me because she pissed me off that goddamn much. And me being young and not having the context, brain's not fully developed, I can look back on it now and really see just how she treated other students that weren't black. She was very clearly a racist woman. And it could have been, not that bad, but it could have been much worse, and it's depressing to look back on and realize that it kind of killed my drive to want to do art because of her and people like her. Now, all the black teachers that I had, don't take this wrong. I'm not racist, and not every single one of them were. It's just this one in particular that was really bad about it. And I can look back on it now, and being an adult, I realize just exactly what it was, and what her action were for. And like I said, it was just depressing. I'm gonna try to keep this a little bit brief, but my first art experience with her, from what I can remember, starts out with a form of art back then we called scratch art. And this is where you take I want to say it was an 8x10 size placard board, and the board itself was white, and then it had a silver layer on top of it, and on top of that layer was a layer of black material that you could literally scratch away, and it would reveal that silver material underneath. I was huge into martial arts. My first name is namesake from a martial artist. I'm not going to say their name out loud and dox myself, but if you know me, you know who I'm talking about. So, me being in the martial artist, me being in the video games and stuff like that, my one of my favorite games back then was Mortal Kombat, and it was Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So my character design for that scratch art was any one of the three Cyber Ninjas, Sector, Smoke, and Cyrax from Mortal Kombat 3. And UMK3, he was a playable character in Mortal Kombat 3. You could put in a code to choose Smoke, and the center characters would rotate, and you could choose him. So that scratch art that I did was of the Cyber Ninjas. So I took one of the photos that I drew by hand and laid it on top of that placard board. And the way you do it is you lay it on top and you tape it down, and you trace around your line art to get the impression of what you want to draw on that placard. So once you have that impression down, you pull off the paperwork, you check, make sure you got all your lines right. If you didn't, obviously you lay it back down and you redo it with like a blunt stick or a blunt pencil. And then you take it off, and you take the tip of the blade, and the blade is like a spade on on a playing card. It's basically in the shape, but the top is a little bit rounded off. So you use that tip, and you go around the outside where your line art is supposed to be. Okay. Then you take the side of the blade, and where your colors are, you take the blade and you go on that, and try to go all in the same direction so you have a uniform shimmer. Okay. Because of the way the art was, I couldn't do a uniform shimmer. So when I was done, it looked kind of wonky. Other than that and one little misslip of the blade, the art was done. I thought it looked amazing. So you got this Cyber Ninja that's about 12 inches tall on this black placker board, silver outline, and where the colors are, where his colored armor is the purple pieces were silver. So you got a silver and black image of a Cyber Ninja, and I thought it looked fucking amazing. It was one of my favorite pieces that I had ever done. And of course, her being an adult and being racist, she didn't like it. She didn't give me any kind of props or anything like that for it. So, that was a negative thing in my brain on art from her. And, from the things that I like, basically just putting me down and stuff like that. Well, everything else, no matter the context, even if it looked terrible, she would praise everybody else. Now, I think there was like 3 or 4 other black students in the room, and myself, and most of the students were white, so you could really see the difference between how she treated me and the white students versus the other black students. So that was my first experience with her. The second experience, we finally make it to where we do molds with plaster. And everybody else, no matter what they chose, big, small, the level of detail, it didn't matter. They got to do all their stuff basically in full color. While me, I chose, I would say, a small to medium sized mold, and it was a King Tut's bust. Even with the little snake on the headdress. So we learned how to mix the plaster, and it's the same like plaster that you would use to make a cast if you broke your arm or broke your leg. So stuff would kick in the plastic cup in about 10 minutes. So you had to take your mold and get it banded together, get it all ready, make sure it was really, really tight and sealed up. And then you make your mix, you measure everything out and pour it in and roll it around in your hands and try to tip it in certain directions to get it to where it would all go into the mold and stuff like that. And a couple of days later, after she fired all the stuff in the kiln and everything like that, we come back, bam, everybody's molds is ready to pop out, right? So eventually, mine comes up and it's my turn in the line. We break the bands open, break the mold open, go to pop it out. So try to remember where the back of the mold was first, because like I said, the snake piece on his head, if you try to do the front first, it would break off immediately and your whole mold would be fucked up. And you basically can't glue it back together, because once it breaks, it's like a chalky material and it's done. So remember which side was the front and the back, and pulled it off, and I'd be damned if everything didn't come out perfectly. So you got this little off-white 5 to 6 inch bust of King Tut's head. The like you would see in National Geographic or anything like that. And like I said, every other student would get to do theirs in full color, but me, fuck no. I had to do all my shit. I had to do my shit in all flat black primer. And the only thing I could really do as far as color was allowed to do as far as color was just the whites of his eyes. Now, you heard that. You sit there and tell me if that teacher wasn't racist or not. Or at least really just did not like me for who I was. Or maybe, just didn't like the fact of that I had chose to do King Tut's head or something like that. Something silly. Those are the 2 memories of her that stick out in my head. And it just irks me to this day. Now, going on, life changes, had a death in the family. I ended up moving to another town and went to another middle school. Tried to make friends, stuff like that. And like I said, I really enjoyed Mortal Kombat. So I ended up having the game book itself, like the thick magazines for Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. And I was, in the break area looking at it and all that stuff. And I had my art pad with me. And one of my art pads was a graph paper, booklet, really big, bigger than what typically you would see with a middle school student. So one day, this dude that I met on the bus, he was a quiet guy like me, and kind of hit it off. We became friends there for a little bit and everything. And he saw that one day when we were on break together, I was looking at the book, and he's like, "Wow, man, this looks really cool. I've never seen this game before, or I had the chance to play it." He was looking through. Can I take a look at it too? So I handed him the book, and he's like, "Dang, this art is amazing. This game looks really cool." He's flipping through, and it makes Liu Kang in the book. And he's like, "Wow, man, I'd really like to have a picture of that. You're into art, right?" I said, "Yeah." "Do you think you can draw this for me?" I look at it, kind of tilt my head a little bit. I'm like, "Yeah, that's too easy. I can take that. I can get that done in a few days." It's like, "Cool, man. That would be so fucking awesome if you could do that for me. I would love to have that." So we go on about our day, break-ins, and then later on we meet up in agriculture class. But between then and ag class, I had my art class. And ag was the only class that he and I had together. So during break, a little bit of a lull time in art class, I picked up my pencil, I grabbed the graph paper and opened up the book and, got to work, man. I was sitting there looking at it and drawing, trying to get a base for what I wanted to do for that picture of Liu Kang doing his flying dragon kick started at least. So I'm going and I got pissed. I was legitimately angry that it was not working out the way I wanted to. Fuck me. In my mind, I didn't want to cuss, being a middle school kid at that time. So I just said, okay, whatever. I'm just going to erase everything, start over, and, just try to get some parameters down. Left, right, top to bottom, and, trying to figure out where on this page the art itself is going to fit. So I look at the book, I look at the picture in the book, and I look at the paper. Okay, I want his right elbow to be here, draw a little line. I want his left hand to be here, draw a little line as a marker. I want his right knee to be here, draw a little line, leave a marker. I want the end of his left foot, his shoe, to be here. Draw a little line, make a mark. Right? So I'm like, okay. I'm going to have to start with his elbow, then move up to his left hand, and then try to draw the toe of his shoe right here. Maybe try not to go a little bit past this line, if not at all. And just start working. Going. Eventually, of course, had to stop, do the regular class work, come back. About 3 days pass, including me going home and working on this at home. I had started with those parameters, but when I really got into it, it's like I just went into a daze. By the time I realized how far I had got into the photo of drawing this pick by hand, and I started in pencil. I didn't realize just how good it was turning out until I was almost finished with it. It's kind of hard to put into words, even for me until this day, of that process, because it was just so weird. It was like I went on autopilot. And I looked down, I'm like, God damn. Like, all I really needed to do is work on the detail of his, facial expression and his hair and try to bring that out a little bit. I've already got, the folds in his pants lined out. So if I go a little bit heavier, I can just, have this knocked out in maybe like another day or so. So probably about the beginning of the 4th day, it was pretty much finished. So I was in art class and I erased the light lines. I started doing line art in pen with like a .2 or .3 millimeter ink pen, and then I did a little bit of shading with the pencil, and then tried to fade that in with the ink pen in the really, really darkest parts of the folds in his pants and the creases of the elbow and all that stuff, and bring it out just a little bit, just a tiny, tiny bit, just ever so slight, just wiping. So I got all that done, and I took the side of my pencil and went around the outline of Liu Kang to give it where it's like, it's him, and then there's a thin white outline around him, and that side of my pencil lead was, the black background, air quotes, of the picture. And to make it look sort of chalky, no, not chalky, but like a faded black, like dark gray, I just took my finger and smudged across it so you couldn't see the pencil lines or the side of the pencil where I was going up and down on it. So it was like taking like a charcoal briquette type thing where you're doing a black background and scraping it across the page real light. I smudged all that together and made it, look as uniform as possible with the end of my finger. And I'll sit back and look at it, I'm like, holy fuck, this shit is done. Now, keep in mind the size of the game book is like a magazine, the size of it, So it's not much bigger than Game Informer or anything like that you would buy. Maybe just a hair larger and definitely a lot thicker and a little bit taller. So Liu Kang in the book was only about 6 inches long, full length, and about 2 to 3 inches tall. And to my surprise, I ended up making that final pick double that, at least. So Liu Kang ended up being about 12 inches in full length and about 4 to 5 inches in height. So I'm like, holy fuck, how did I end up making this? And I was sitting there looking at it, like, good God, man, this actually came out really fucking good. So break comes around, and I go from art to break, and I see him out there, and he walks up to me. He's like, hey, how's it going? Normal conversation. And I pull out the book, and I pull out my graph paper, the whole pad, and I tore it out. I'm like, okay, here you go. He's like, holy shit. Other people heard him, and they start looking, like, what the fuck are you cussing, He didn't care, and I didn't care either, but he was looking at the photo like, oh my God, bring out the book, show me the book. So I take out the book, and he turns it over to the picture of Liu Kang, and he's holding it up there like, oh my fucking God. This is amazing. Like, you really did this by hand. Nobody else did it for you. I'm like, yeah, it took me about 3 or 4 days, and I got it done. It's what you wanted. It's like, my God, man. Like, I can't take this from you for free. Like, at least let me give you something, some kind of money for it. Like, no, man, it's just a gift. Just take it. And some random dude walks over, comes up on my right, like, man, you can't be selling shit like that. I look up at him like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? This is fan art. I didn't say, are you fucking kidding me? Of course, middle school and everything. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I did this by hand, and I didn't do it as a commission, and it's none of your business in the first place. Nobody over here asked you to come over and kick up a conversation. So what are you doing here in the first place, Just mind your own dang business. He walks off all huffy and puffy and everything, fucking mumbling under his breath. I'm like, go ahead, say it out loud. He just walks off. Okay. So my friend and I go back to our conversation, and he's like, okay, so back to what we were doing. Let me give you something for it. Let me give you a little bit of money for it, bro. Oh, okay. If you really want to give me something, just give me $1. So I sold the picture to him for literally a single dollar bill. Now, just for you to understand, the size of this graph paper is about 2 feet wide and probably 10 inches, a little bit more. Landscape wise, 10 inches more, a little bit more taller. Because that's the position that I drew him in on that final pick. and it's a blue line graph paper. I don't know if you can still find it or not. So just in case you want to buy it or you're looking for something like that. No, whatever. You do a size comparison, see how my story fits or what have you. So we go from that, and it's kind of the end until I get into the story, until I get to this picture that you're seeing now. Because of those experiences, aside from my friend, really being happy about me doing that art piece for him and things like that, thinking back on it now, it still brings a smile to my face because I was able to do something for somebody and it made them happy. It really brought joy to him. I wish I could remember his name. I wish I could find him now to see if he still has that picture. And, we could, hook up, talk, send it to me in an email or something like that if he still got it. And moving on, going to a high school, I drew a picture of Eric Draven and Shelly from the album art. I freehanded it, and it ended up being about 15 inches tall. I did a self-portrait, roughly around the same size on the same graph paper. The crow and Cheryl in it was on a regular thick art paper. The kind that looks like recycled material. But anyways, moving on. The picture you're seeing now is from something that I did 27 years ago. When right before I joined the military, when I was going in, going through all the paperwork, doing the tests and stuff like that. And it's a Harlequin. And I didn't do this in regular line art. I didn't start with pencil. This was on notebook paper. And I just did it out of my head, freehand, straight in ink. And the only thing that I had at the time was just a regular pencil, a regular ballpoint pen, and some red ink pen. So what you're seeing now is later, when I went back a couple of weeks later, I had a better black ink pen, and I did the regular line art after I'd already filled in the red that you're seeing, including the red on his eyes. So more than a couple of decades later, I come back to it. I take a picture of it with my iPhone 6s Plus, and using PixArt, I took my $20 stylus that I got and whited out the background, whited out a little bit of his face because, over time this pic aged. It got, older from time, and somehow it got liquid damage on it too. So when you're seeing his right arm, that's the damage that you're seeing done to it. I didn't want to change that. I didn't want to change anything on how I filled in the red and filled in the blacks. I just wanted to clean up the art just a little bit around the edges and give it a white background. So like I said, this is done from me a long time before a lot of these little assholes up here on the internet from on Hoyle Lab want to complain about the tools that people use. Sit down, take a good look at yourself. Go within yourself and figure out the problem that you have. Because tools are tools. Art is art, no matter whether you like it or not. Times are changing. The medium has changed several times. And now we just got something new that's coming up right now. So let people experiment. Let people enjoy what they're doing. You can leave constructive criticism and not be a dick about it. Not be a fucking cunt. You know what I'm saying? So I did this in ink before a lot of you dumb motherfuckers were born. So don't tell me to fucking learn. Okay? Straight up, don't tell me to air quotes learn. I've already learned. I've already had my shit. Being bought, being sold, being traded. You're going to come up at all these other people online talking about learn this and learn that. Show a picture of Eminem throwing fucking crayons or something. Man, fuck you. That's some weak ass fucking shit. And Eminem is a bitch. I said it. And I meant it. I'll say it again. Eminem's a bitch. And your little punk ass didn't even make the meme in the first place. So what are you even doing? You stole that meme from somebody else. You didn't take the screenshot from the movie. You didn't add any text to it. What is your point? What's your argument? I got arthritis now where I can barely hold a fucking pencil. It hurts the game. It hurts to hold my styluses that I got. So the tools that I have to use are not by my choice. It's by nature's choice. I'm 44 now. I don't have time for the bullshit. But it was kind of weighing on me. And this is a story that I wanted to tell irregardless of what was happening on Oil Lab or anything like that. Because I enjoy art. It's something that I've loved for a very, very long time. And seeing dumbasses online being disparaging for no reason other than just computer thing did this. It's just fucking stupid. It's disgusting. Let people experiment. AI is here whether you like it or not. Well, take a look in the mirror. Ask what you've done with your life. And if you think you can do better than me, I want you to fucking prove it.